Hello again, YouTube. This is Moogle847, and I've decided to kind of follow Monty Python and at least one of their greatest little ideas, or one of their greatest phrases, and say, and now for something completely different. Because after doing 3 Star Wars movies, it is time to do something that is near and dear to my heart. And that is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Now, for those of you that don't know, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy was a TV program. Is the camera go focus? There it goes. Hey. Was a program. Started out on radio. And then eventually became books, as well as a TV show, before finally making it to our full-length movie version. And yes, this is the TV show version, which is fun. So, the neat thing about this series, it was made 4 different times by the author himself. Actually, there was even a comic book. I forgot about that too. But it was made every time by the author. The original author kept revising the story and adding in extra jokes here and there because that's what he did. He wanted to have fun. Now, sadly, we've only had the 1 movie, and I would love for them to do more. But, well, time will just have to tell on that one. But sadly, when writing the movie, Douglas Adams passed away. The author passed away, and so we may never get the second, or the movie based off the second book. But from everything that but from the books, you had 5 total, and then 1 that was written after the fact. And so the ones you had were The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, The Restaurant at the End of the Universe, Life, the Universe, and Everything, So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, and Mostly Harmless. So out of all those, we've only gotten 1 movie, and then even the TV show covered a little bit of stuff from Restaurant at the End of the Universe, but it's alright, we'll get into that. So, what makes this series awesome? And believe me, the stories they have are absolutely great. And this is British comedy, and I am a huge fan of British comedy. I love the stuff. So, for me to actually see British comedy come to America in a major motion picture, that was awesome for me. That, and it was one of the movies that me and my brother both went up and said, okay, we have got to see this. The other movie that we did that with was The Fellowship of the Rings, and we'll get into that whenever I talk about Lord of the Rings and talk about funny stories about that. So, but with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, your basic story revolves around a man named Arthur Dent, who finds out that his best friend, Ford Prefect, happens to be an alien from another world that was somewhere in the vicinity of the star of Betelgeuse. And upon the revelation of this fact, Ford helps Arthur get off of Earth, because the Earth is about to be demolished for a bypass. Coincidentally, Arthur's house was about to be destroyed for a bypass. Anyway, so Arthur goes up and ends up being dragged along, and eventually meets the President of the Galaxy, named Zaphod Beeblebrox, as well as a girl named Trillian, who is actually Trisha McMillan, but this girl happened to be this girl that Arthur met at a dress party, and totally blew it with. like I said, good British humor. But what's fun is the fact that you also have, as one of the extra chief characters, a manically depressed robot known as Marvin. And throughout all the TV shows, movies, books, all the characters are running around the galaxy looking for the answer, or they're looking for the question to go with the answer for life, the universe, and everything. And yes, if you type it in on Google, you get the answer as well. But the problem is, what was the question to make the answer really relevant? So everyone is looking for the question to make the answer relevant. But I digress. Anyway, what is neat is the fact that with the TV show, they had some really interesting ideas. Like, for instance, when they did the design for Zaphod Beeblebrox, he's supposed to have 2 heads and 3 arms. And with the second head they did, it was a prosthetic, but it was actually mechanical. So the eyes were blinking and moving, the mouth could move and articulate a little bit. So it was really good special effects. And some of the designs for the sets and the makeup was really good. And even the fact that when they got to the restaurant at the end of the universe, one of the chief characters you meet, or one of the fun little characters they introduce, is a cow. And this cow is special because the cow was actually bred to want to offer itself to be killed. And upon the revelation that this cow wanted to be killed, Arthur goes into a little rant about whether or not it's still ethical. Because, yeah, while this creature wants to be eaten, is it better than a creature that doesn't want to be eaten? There you go. But the fun part was the cow in the original version was played by Peter Davison. That's right, it was the 5th Doctor. And that is awesome. Especially since I'm a Doctor Who fan. It's always great. You know, especially when you get those little references like that. So, like I said, really, overall, the series is very good. And a lot of the humor is hilarious. Sadly, some of it didn't come over from the book or the TV show to the movie. For instance, there was a joke in the book and on the radio program and the TV show where Ford is talking to Arthur, and Ford says something about the fact because they're about to go into hyperspace, and Ford says something like, traveling through hyperspace is unpleasantly like being drunk. And Arthur asks, well, what's the matter with being drunk? And Ford says, ask a glass of water. I'll just give you a minute on that. Yeah. Anyway, it's comedy that makes you think, you know, and there's just not too many of the movies like that anymore. A lot of these movies, when they come out and they're doing a comedy or whatever, they're just constantly going up and just doing nothing but slapstick, nothing but just trying to do whatever. And what's interesting is with the movie, as I said, Douglas Adams was writing it, and when he passed away, they gave it to Cary Kirkpatrick to finish. And they still managed to do really good stuff. But, God, man, my camera's focusing way too much today. Anyway, but with what they ended up with doing, or what, like some of the ideas that a lot of people hated, there was the fact they ended up going to Vogsphere. And a lot of people sat there going, oh, why in the world are they dragging us to Vogsphere? And Douglas wrote that in, and he even came up with this idea. I heard this off of the commentary from the movie, that they did this line about, or he decided that when they're on the planet, anytime anybody has an idea or wants to suggest some idea, this weird snake shovel creature comes up and smacks him right in the face. which would explain why when you meet the Vogons that live on Vogsphere, their noses are all turned up like this. Let's face it, they're getting smacked in the face by this little snake thing. That's freaking comedy gold. It's gold. It's great. It's awesome. And so with that, you had a lot of really good ideas. Well, then there was, let's see, then there's stuff like the fact that they introduced a villain known as, shoot, I suddenly blanked on his name. Humakavula. There we go. And a lot of people sat there going, oh, why are they putting this character in there? Why are they putting him in there? Douglas wrote him in. It is Douglas Adams that did that. Nobody can blame the movie makers or anything else. They have to look at Douglas Adams. So, believe me, Douglas did some good stuff and he did some bad stuff, but for the most part, it was fun. It was funny. And that was what you were wanting. Then, it's also kind of funny to think that, sorry, my cat's doing something weird over there. What are you doing? Just look away like you don't understand. Alright, fine. Anyway, so, but one of the funniest things, and it's actually kind of a funny little comedic satire at this point, but one of the things that was funny was that Douglas had a joke in his original stuff about about the fact that mankind, hadn't really done much, but yet somehow got to the place where they thought that a digital watch was a good idea. Well, the funniest thing is when he did the movie, he changed it from digital watch to your cell phone. Your cell phone is no longer just a phone. It's now like a calculator. It's all this. It has become the neat idea. Ironically, we are getting ready for the iPhone, or we got the Apple Watches. We are going back to digital watches, which have other functions other than watch. I'm sure Douglas would have had a field day with that one. Anyway, so, like I said, so with the rest of the basic story to Hitchhikers, especially with the movie has the characters find this planet where they make other planets. And they end up finding a big revelation. And have all these other things that happen, and you get like a little bit of a love story going and all this stuff, and really it's fantastic. And to think they put all this effort into this movie, and even the fact they got Jim Henson Productions to help out in the movie, and the way they had him help out, they helped design some of the creatures. So when it got to like them doing the Vogons, that's actual Jim Henson puppeteers, and that's hilarious. And some of the stuff they have them doing is amazing. It looks great. It's also fun to see that you have movie makers that actually have a thing where they're like, yeah, well, we need to do a puppet instead of a CG creature, and they make it work. That is awesome. George Lucas needs to take more notes. Anyway, so, like I said, overall, it was a good experience. Now, another fun little fact that I find with these, at least these visual and audio versions of this story, is that in the original radio program, they picked for their opening and exit music, they picked the song Journey of the Sorcerer by the Eagles. If you haven't heard it, great instrumental piece, very neat. But they picked it to be the theme. And when they did the TV show, put it back in. And then, just like a little more synth version. And then when you got to the movie, you now had the Eagles' original song being played by a full orchestra. And it is amazing. It's also fun to note that if you listen to the soundtrack, you actually get a drum set piece that goes along with it. You got the drum set piece out of the movie, but it was neat when you watch the movie and you get this scene after the Earth is destroyed. And right after the Earth is destroyed, I mean, like I said, this is the movie version, they have this little banjo playing, and you're up there like, what in the world is going on? And you see this black thing kind of come out of nowhere, or black silver thing come out of nowhere, and it comes right up to the camera, and it stops, and then it spins around as this banjo is getting more intense, and you get like a bass going and all this stuff, and some strings playing, and then you just, as this thing flips around, you're in the da-na-na-na, and you're like, okay, what is this? And then they're playing the full Journey of the Sorcerer as you're suddenly seeing the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And you're like, oh, that is awesome. You guys have just sold me. It's also funny because they kind of play the title twice, technically. First time with a neat little music number for So Long and Thanks for All the Fish. With this whole thing of them talking about dolphins knowing that the Earth is going to be destroyed, and that this whole time they've been doing tricks and all these things to impress us. They've actually been trying to warn us that, hey, the Earth is about to be destroyed. You guys need to leave. And we didn't know what it was. We just thought, hey, they did a trick. Here, have a fish. Have some tidbits. And what ends up happening? Well, they finally just say, screw it, and they leave. But not before one dolphin decides to do a double backward somersault through a hoop and whistle the Star-Spangled Banner. Which, once again, we misinterpret that actual message. And what really was said was, so long and thanks for all the fish. And then they go into this whole kind of like full Broadway jazz piece of so long and thanks for all the fish. And just once you're into that, you are set. You are great. And I mean, they even got some good actors for this movie. I mean, you had, see, when they did the movie, you had Martin Freeman, who has been a really good actor and very funny guy. You had Martin Freeman playing Arthur. You had Mos Def playing Ford. You had Zooey Deschanel playing Trillian. You had what's his name? Sam Rockwell playing Zaphod Beeblebrox, and he totally freaking steals the stage on that one. Then you have like, what, you got John Malkovich playing Humakavula, and even you've got Bill Nighy playing Slarty Bartfast. His name really wasn't that important. Anyway, so like I said, overall, very fun show, very fun movie, and if you've never read the books or if you haven't seen anything that was Hitchhikers, do yourselves a favor, check it out. It's hilarious. If you are a fan of like classic British humor like Monty Python or like Monty Python's Flying Circus or Monty Python the Holy Grail, some of those movies, or even like Absolutely Fabulous, Are You Being Served? I mean, just pick a British comedy. This guy was one of the ones that said, okay, well, everyone else is doing full-on satire, I want to do comedy sci-fi. I mean, he did it in such a way that even Red Dwarf, who tried their best to kind of mimic it, couldn't quite mimic it. So, trust me, if you ever get a chance to watch these, or, like I said, read the books, I highly recommend it. I will say the 5th book's a little dry. Yeah, they did a 6th book afterwards called what was it? And Another Thing. And I mean, I haven't really read it myself, so I have no idea how it goes. But like I said, overall, good series, very fun, and I'm sure you all will enjoy it. And apparently my screensaver decided to kick on. Thank you! Go away. I can't see. There it is. There it is. Anyway. Yeah, I'm not editing that crap out. We're just going to keep it going. We're just going to keep this as real as possible, folks. Alrighty. Well, anyway, like I said, you definitely watch these. Definitely check these out. You know, you got my seal of approval on that one. Now, so next time I come back on, I will start into the original trilogy of Star Wars. So, because we will finish that. I'm just kind of doing this as a setup, kind of like how I was doing my original blog, or on Blogspot. And I figured, might as well go ahead, since I can do it this way, instead of trying to type all this stuff out. It's a lot faster for me to just say it and record it. So, alright. Well, like I said, this is Moogle 847, and we are signing out. Take care, folks.